Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are jumping straight into an absolutely fascinating journey to decode one of the most powerful and honestly mesmerizing myths of ancient times. We are talking about the story of Vasuki. Now, if you think you already know all the legends of ancient mythology, well, buckle up. Because we are looking at a narrative today that goes way, way beyond simple folklore. We're dealing with cosmic scales of power, unbelievable endurance, and a level of philosophical depth that is just incredibly relevant to us even today. I mean, just imagine a creature whose breath is literal poison, whose mere touch means instant death, and whose eyes reflect the vastness of the entire universe. It's terrifying, right? But now, imagine that same terrifying creature being willingly worn as a necklace by none other than Lord Shiva. So the obvious question is, why? How does a creature of such immense destructive power end up becoming a literal adornment for the divine? Well, the answer really lies in exactly who this creature is. You see, Vasuki isn't just some random mythological beast. He is the king of Nagaloka, the bearer of the glowing Nagamani, and above all else, he's the ultimate symbol of selfless devotion and sacrifice across the Puranas and Mahabharata. So in this explainer, we aren't just going to list off his mythological feats, we're really going to unpack the deep philosophical virtues of duty, leadership, and absolute sacrifice that Vasuki represents. Okay, let's get into Section 1, King of Serpents, Vasuki. To really understand Vasuki, we have to start at his origins. He's the son of the great sage Kashapya, and Kadru, the mother of thousands of serpents. And there is a fascinating contrast here between him and his eldest brother Sheshnag. Think about Sheshnag for a second. He serves as Lord Vishnu's cosmic bed, representing ultimate power, patience, and cosmic stability. But then contrast that with Vasuki, who carved out an entirely different path for himself. As the king of Nagaloka and eventually Shiva's necklace, Vasuki represents dynamic action, unparalleled sacrifice, and a fierce, very active kind of devotion. They are both incredibly powerful beings for sure, but their purposes in the universe are fundamentally different. Now, the ancient texts describe Vasuki's realm, Nagaloka, as this brilliant subterranean kingdom situated deep within Patala. And you have to realize it wasn't some dark, dreary cave. It was a magnificent world illuminated by the glowing Nagamani, this divine gem resting right on the head of Vasuki, who, by the way, is described as having 9 majestic hoods. And as a ruler, he was fiercely just. It literally did not matter if you were a small, weak serpent or a massive, powerful one. In Vasuki's court, you received impartial justice. He was a fearless king who ruled with profound love for his people. Moving on to Section 2, Unwavering Devotion to Lord Shiva. So Vasuki's first major trial wasn't actually a war. It was a spiritual quest driven by his overwhelming desire to serve Lord Shiva, the destroyer of worlds and the ultimate ascetic. And let me tell you, this was not your average weekend meditation retreat. Vasuki undertook an unimaginably intense penance, or tapasya. He started out fasting deep in these freezing Himalayan caves, and as time passed, he just weathered the freezing snow and brutal storms without moving a single inch. As the decades and centuries rolled on, his body was completely covered by termites, which, I have to imagine is fairly distracting when you're trying to achieve spiritual enlightenment. But even when raging forest fires completely surrounded him, Vasuki remained in absolute stillness, chanting a single mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. His focus was totally unbreakable. And the payoff for this immense dedication was huge. When Lord Shiva finally appeared, literally shaking the earth and the heavens, he offered Vasuki anything he could possibly desire in the 3 worlds: wealth, power, immortality, you name it. And Vasuki's response? He simply said, I want nothing, only the right to serve you and remain near you always. He asked for nothing but to serve. And because of that pure, selfless devotion, Shiva granted him the eternal honor of resting around his neck as a divine ornament. That brings us to Section 3, Ocean Churning, the Great Sacrifice. We are fast-forwarding to the Treta Yuga, and honestly, the most famous event involving Vasuki, the Samudra Manthan, or the Great Churning of the Cosmic Ocean. Basically, the Devas, the celestial beings, had lost their divine power due to a curse, and the only way to get it back was to churn the ocean to extract the nectar of immortality. But think about the mechanics of this operation for a second. They needed a churning rod, which was the massive Mandar mountain, and they needed a rope strong enough to actually turn a mountain. Vasuki willingly volunteered his own body to be that rope. I want you to imagine the immense, agonizing physical toll of that. His body was wrapped around a jagged mountain, violently pulled back and forth by celestial beings and demons, scraping and tearing his flesh, all to save the very universe. And there's a really fascinating tactical detail the ancient texts report here. Lord Vishnu actually orchestrated a very clever alignment. The Asuras, thinking the head was the position of power, demanded to hold Vasuki's head, leaving the Devas at the tail. But as the immense pain of the churning increased, fiery smoke and toxic venom began to escape from Vasuki's mouth. So the Asuras, positioned right there at the head, bore the absolute brunt of this agonizing heat, weakening them while the Devas remained perfectly safe at the tail. It's almost like an insider look at a mythological heist, isn't it? Now, as the ocean churned, out came what was basically an unbelievable cosmic lottery of marvels. We're talking Kamdenu, the wish-fulfilling cow, the divine seven-headed horse, the magnificent four-tusked elephant Airavat, the wish-granting culp of Riksha tree, the goddess Lakshmi, and finally, the physician Dhanvantari holding the nectar of immortality. Literally, all of these mind-blowing boons exist because one king decided to bear the pain in silence. But before they got the nectar came the ultimate terror, the halahal poison. This was a venom so toxic, the texts say it actually began boiling the oceans and dropping birds right out of the sky. It threatened to wipe out all of creation. The Devas and Asuras completely panicked and fled. But Lord Shiva stepped forward and drank the poison to save the universe, which is why his neck turned blue, earning him the name Nilkanth. But notice the real emotional climax here. The Suki didn't flee. He remained tightly wrapped around Shiva's neck. True devotion meant staying steadfast through that burning agony, sharing his lord's pain when absolutely everyone else ran away. We actually see this exact theme of silent service repeat with the three impenetrable cities of Tripura. These were colossal fortresses made of gold, silver, and iron, built by the Asuras. When Lord Shiva set out to destroy these tyrannical cities with a single cosmic arrow, he needed a bowstring powerful enough to actually handle the weapon. And once again, Vasuki stepped forward, offering his own body as the bowstring. The cities were destroyed, a massive victory was celebrated, but Vasuki just quietly returned to his place, taking absolutely zero credit for the cosmic victory. Section 4, Protecting Nagas. And this is a much darker chapter. As we move into the era of the Mahabharata, we see the ultimate test of his leadership and, sadly, his greatest heartbreak. It all started with a pretty petty dispute that turned into a horrifying curse. Vasuki's own mother, Kadru, made a deceitful bet with her sister regarding the color of a divine horse's tail. She actually ordered her serpent children to wrap around the tail to change its color. But when a lot of the righteous Nagas refused to participate in this lie, Kadru, in a fit of absolute rage, cursed her own children, saying, "You will all burn in fire one day." So Vasuki had to live with the looming shadow of this terrible curse. But despite that, he never stopped being a king of profound gratitude. There's this really fascinating tangent during the Pandavas' forest exile, where the mighty warrior Bhima was caught by a cursed Naga king. And it was only when Yudhisthira answered the serpent's philosophical questions righteously that the Naga was finally freed. When Vasuki heard that the Pandavas had actually saved one of his kin, his gratitude was immense. He blessed Bhima with a potion, granting him the physical strength of 10,000 elephants. He was absolutely a king who never forgot a good deed. Unfortunately, generations later, Kadru's horrific curse finally manifested. It all kicked off when the Naga Takshak fatally bit King Parashit. Parashit's son, King Janamejaya, was just consumed by grief, which very quickly turned into blinding rage. He initiated the Sarpa Yagna, a terrifying massive fire sacrifice. With every single chanted mantra, innocent serpents from all across the world were magically dragged from their homes and hurled into this blazing fire. Deep in Nagaloka, Vasuki experienced unparalleled grief, having to helplessly hear the screams of his subjects, his friends, and his family burning away. But as we know, a true leader never gives up. Vasuki recalled a prophecy given to him by Lord Brahma, and he sent his brilliant nephew, Astika, to the site of the sacrifice. Astika showed up armed not with weapons, but with profound Vedic knowledge and wisdom, and he so deeply impressed the furious King Janamejaya that the king offered him any boon he wanted. Astika immediately demanded the sacrifice be stopped. By relying on wisdom rather than starting a massive war, Vasuki saved the Naga race from total annihilation. And finally, Section 5, Vasuki's immortal message and legacy. As we guide this explainer to a close, we really have to ask, why does this ancient narrative still matter to us today? Well, look at the ultimate validation of Vasuki's character. In the Bhagavad Gita, during the profound Vibhuti Yoga chapter, where Lord Krishna is revealing his divine absolute forms to Arjuna, he explicitly states, "Among serpents, I am Vasuki." This proves that Vasuki isn't just some character in a story. He is the absolute pinnacle of his kind. He is the divine standard of what a being can achieve through duty and devotion. The myth of the Serpent King is, in reality, a timeless masterclass in character. It really teaches us three core philosophies. First, true devotion gives without constantly demanding rewards. Second, true leadership means feeling the pain of your people and fighting tirelessly to protect them. And third, true love stays steadfast, even when you are quite literally sharing the agony of poison. It is absolutely no wonder that his selfless duty is celebrated by millions of people to this day during the festival of Nag Panchami. Vasuki offered his own body to churn an ocean. He served as a weapon string to destroy evil, and he bore unparalleled pain, all while asking for absolutely zero credit or glory in return. So, I want to leave you with this to think about. In our modern world, where everyone seems to be constantly seeking recognition, what does true, quiet leadership and selfless sacrifice actually look like to you? Think about it. Keep learning, keep seeking, and we'll see you next time as we continue exploring the world's most fascinating source materials.